Are you a master cyclocross racer looking to take your off-season training to the next level? Do you want to improve your endurance, your strength, and technical skills on the bike during those colder cyclocross months? In today's episode of the Simple Endurance Coaching video podcast, we'll talk about what you need to know about off-season training for master cyclocross racers, from tips and tricks for staying motivated to specific workouts designed for you. Get ready to kickstart your off-season training like never before. We get into the big picture about preparing for cyclocross this fall, and we'll dig into specifics over the next few weeks because it's never, ever too soon to talk about cross. With the right approach, off-season training for cyclocross can help you come into the new season stronger and more prepared than ever before as a masters athlete. And by masters, I mean us old folks, 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s and older. So what should you focus on during your off-season training? Here are a few key things to keep in mind. Number one, strength training. It is essential for cyclocross success. While many masters athletes focus just on endurance, during the off-season, it's really important to remember that strength is also a key factor in cross success. After all, cross is a power-intensive sport that requires explosive efforts over and over again. Incorporating strength work into your off-season training will pay dividends come race day. Number two, don't neglect your skills. Just because the race season is coming doesn't mean you should not work on your cross skills. In fact, this is coming close to the perfect time to focus on honing your technique and becoming even better at handling the challenges of cyclocross racing. Training for masters racers might include taking your bike out on some mountain bike trails and practicing your skills there. Number three, get comfortable with being, uncomfortable. One of the best things about cross racing is that it's completely unpredictable and often completely chaotic. You never know what conditions you'll face on race day, so it's important to be comfortable with chaos. So you might choose to get in some crits, some mountain bike races, or some gravel races to practicing riding in groups, riding in tough situations, things that you might not normally do. So off-season training for cross might include types of ridings like loose gravel that force you to improve your handling skills. If you are a master cyclocross racer, then you know that the off-season is the time to focus on your training and prepare for the upcoming season. And what are the benefits of off-season training for master cyclocross racers? Number one of the benefits is that you can focus on your weaknesses. The off-season is a great time to assess the strengths and weaknesses from the past season and work on improving those weaknesses. By identifying them early, you can set up your off-season training accordingly. It gives you the chance to do a long view and make sure that you're spending adequate time working on those areas. For instance, maybe your starts or your off-camber corners need some work. Great time to work on them. Number two, you can try out new workouts or disciplines. Off-season for cross is a great time to get out and do something different. So if you've been wanting to try cross training with another sport, now is the time. Or maybe you want to try out some new interval workouts. The off season is the perfect time to mix things up and to try something new. For many of us, including me, running is something that I don't really like to do that much because I know how sore I'm going to get the first couple times I do runs, no matter how short they are. But running smoothly over barriers can earn you seconds in a race. Number three, you can focus on building the base miles. And I've said this before, and I will say it a lot again. One of the most important aspects of cross training is building a strong base mileage. Now is the time to start gradually increasing your mileage and build a solid foundation for a race season. Most of my clients are either doing these long base rides or racing right now. And if they're not racing, they're doing the long rides and a couple of hard interval sessions per week to improve their ability to ride at threshold. As an older rider, it's also really important to set some realistic process goals for our season and to create a training plan that's going to help us reach those goals. So here are a couple things to keep in mind when setting those goals and creating your training plan. Number one, set realistic process goals. It's important to set goals that are achievable and measurable in considering your training. So for example, rather than setting a goal of winning every race or podiuming every race, set a goal of something like keeping consistent lap times, or maybe I'm going to focus on improving my line in every lap. That way you focus on improving your skills rather than dwelling on mistakes or things that didn't go well. Number two, create a training plan that's specific to these goals. Your training for cross should be tailored to help you achieve those specific goals and should include workouts that are going to improve your endurance, speed, and bike handling. For instance, my favorite cross workout is those soccer field sprints where you sprint down the sideline, take the hard corner, and then recover behind the goal, and then go back and sprint the next sideline and do that over and over and over again. Number three, make sure you allow enough time to train. It takes time to see the results from your training. So make sure you allow enough time in your schedule to get the adequate amount of training, especially now during the off season. And as we've talked about, this off-season training needs to include a lot of slow, easy endurance riding, especially those long rides, getting in as many as you can. So make sure you get those in now. It's pretty easy to sharpen the sword and race quickly. It's a lot harder to build that base. Number four, be consistent with your training. Consistency is key when it comes to seeing those results from your training. Make sure you stick as closely as possible to the plan and don't skip too many days or workouts or do them in small pieces. Remember, the long rides, regular endurance training, regular strength training, and yoga. Although cyclocross is a relatively short season, it's important for cross racers to make the most of your training time and focus on the full body strength training during now the off season. So here are some key exercises, and this very generally to help you get the most out of this training for Masters Cyclocross. Number one, power cleans. Pull up and to your shoulders. They're great explosive power exercises, which is essential for the jumping and the sprinting we do in cross. Number two, my favorite, deadlifts. It's all about leg, hip, and full body power. They also help you improve your anaerobic threshold to a point which is important for the racing. Sled pushes and drags, push a sled down, pull it back. It's really good for developing your leg strength and power, especially in your glutes, as well as your ability to handle quick changes in directions. Number four, plyometrics. Love these. Jumping, exploding power, jumping onto platforms. Box jumps and bounding drills, single leg hops, they're all really good options. When it comes down to off-season training for Masters Cyclocross racers, nutrition is an important factor to consider. Just as with any other type of athlete, what you eat can have a big impact on your performance. Here are a couple things to keep in mind in a general way about your nutrition for off-season training. Number one, carbohydrates. They are so important. They are critical for energy. Cross is a high-intensity sport that requires a lot of energy. That's why it's so important to make sure you're getting enough carbs in your diet. Complex carbohydrates like whole grains, sweet potatoes, and vegetables are ideal, and they'll give you the sustained energy throughout your training and racing to come. Number two, protein is essential for recovery. It helps us rebuild the muscles that we break down. So after a hard workout or race, your muscles need that protein to repair and rebuild. Make sure you're getting enough through lean meats if you eat meat, dairy, nuts, and beans. I often drink a protein supplement right after a workout because it's just simpler than trying to eat a full meal. Number 3, fat isn't bad. Despite what you may have heard, we need fat, especially when it comes to exercise performance. Healthy fats like avocado and olive oil and fish actually can improve your endurance and power output. Just make sure you limit the bad fats, the saturated fats, that they can lead to some weight gain and some other health issues some of the time. Number 4, obviously, stay hydrated. This one should go without saying, but it's important. Without good hydration, we're done. Dehydration slows us down before, during, and after your training. Training for the Masters Cyclocross means practicing this fueling and hydration during the summer before the racing really starts. Finally, you'll never make gains training for Masters Cyclocross racing unless you focus on recovery. Number 1, get plenty of rest. After a hard workout, the only time you can recover is if your body sleeps. Get sleep, allow your body to rest so it can repair itself. Number 2, eat right. We just talked about eating that healthy diet that can aid in recovery. Fruits, vegetables, whole grains, help your body replenish its energy stores. Number 3, stay hydrated. Drinking plenty of fluids help your body flush out the nasty crap and helps keep your muscles and joints lubricated in a way. You're just always keeping the oil topped off. And number 4, gentle activity. It's important to rest, but gentle activity like walking and yoga, recovery yoga especially, can really increase the blood flow, reduce the muscle soreness, and speed up recovery. Off-season training is absolutely critical for Masters Cyclocross racing. With the right plan, you can achieve your goals and stay ahead of the competition. To get started on your off-season training, first decide what kind of rider do you want to be. Do you want to be consistent, snappy, quick off the start, but then create a comprehensive program tailored to those goals. Then stick to that plan by tracking your progress over time, setting milestones along the way, and setting process goals that work for you. So use proven methods like interval workouts, strength training, yoga practice, nutrition planning, proper rest days. You combine all this together and you can become an even better Masters Cross racer. Thank you for watching this edition of the Simple Endurance Coaching video podcast, the Everyday Cyclist and Runner's Guide to Performance. Each week we dive into one thing that's working in endurance sports training for everyday cyclists and runners. Sign up in the show notes for a virtual coffee so we can talk about your goals, we can talk about your questions, and talk about making your endurance training more effective, fun, and simple with a capital S. Find the full article on my blog linked in the notes and get a free core strength and stability training video when you opt in to receive my weekly blog posts about what's working in endurance sports. Thanks, and I hope to see you out on the road.